All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm just going to assume that you can hear me. If you can't hear me, go ahead and let me know in the messages there, and I'll see if there's something going on with my sound and try and get it figured out. But I'm just going to assume that you can hear me, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So go ahead and start putting your questions in here, and I'll start answering them. Um, so if we don't have any questions, then you get to watch me answer emails for an hour. So go ahead and post some questions in here, and we'll go ahead and start getting them answered. And like I said, I'll be here for an hour. It's 9 a.m. Eastern time right here, right now. I'll be here till 10 a.m. Eastern time. So go ahead and ask your questions, whatever questions you got, and we'll get them answered right here in the office hours. So to ask a question, all you gotta do is go on the right hand side of the page there. If you're on like your computer or your laptop, and you see your name there, and they'll say enter message here. You just ask your question right there. If you're on a mobile device, I think it's below the video. You'll see where you can ask the questions. You'll see the chat in there. So go ahead and use that and ask away, and we'll go ahead and. Otherwise, it might be kind of boring if I don't have any questions today. All right. So William P, or actually Dave F, the first question here. Dave F says, "How do you, as a right-handed golfer, stop left wrist from collapsing at impact?" So I think what Dave's talking about here. Let's go ahead and angle this down a little bit. So I think what Dave's talking about here is, as a right-handed golfer, our left wrist, why is it collapsing? By collapsing, I think he means it's like cupping as he's coming in through impact. So that's commonly referred to as scooping or flipping or things like that. So there's basically two main causes of this. Number one is if you are casting the club and releasing from the top. So if you look at the top of the swing, you see this angle between your lead arm and the shaft. If you see this angle is getting bigger from the top of the swing, you're at the top of the swing, and then this angle is getting bigger and bigger as you're coming down. Well, you're already releasing the club too early. Ideally, what we'd want to do is we want to be generating lag in the downswing. So you'd be starting the downswing, and that angle is actually getting smaller, about to what we call the max lag position, which is usually about when this lead arm is parallel to the ground in the downswing. And that's where we want to see that angle get the smallest. And then from there, we want to see it to slowly start to release, and then release out in front. So that lead hand there is not broken down there at impact, as you mentioned. So that's going to be our top speed lag section. And to get to the top speed lag section, the easiest way to do that is just to go to the house icon at the top of the page. If you click on that, you scroll down through the courses, you'll be able to see all the courses there and your progress through them. And you can click on the top speed lag section. That's what you'll want to work on to get that working out. So you just got to look at your swing on camera and see what's going on there. So it can be that, or it can be a combination of that. And there's lots of other things too, but these are the two big ones that I see. A combination of that and coming down steep. So what I mean by coming down steep is at that point, that max lag position that I was talking about, we see if this club is very vertical. When it's in this kind of position, usually what happens is we tend to kind of stand up in the downswing. So what that does is that gets that club to drop down and come back down on plane. Because if we continue in this direction, we're either going to swing way over the top, or we're just going to drop that club right behind the golf ball and dig a huge hole. And, usually because because we are good athletes, we're going to try to hit a good shot. So we're going to make a compensation, which is standing up to come out of the swing. And when we stand up, what happens? Our hands get further away from the ball, and we have to flip to get to the ball. And then you get that left wrist, that lead wrist breakdown there. So that's going to be the move section, which is going to get you to where you're shallowing out the club, squaring the face earlier. So if you look at it from this angle, shallowing out the club, squaring the face earlier. That's going to help you to stay in your posture, have this club down on plane, and allow you to rotate into the ball. So when you are coming into impact, you have forward shaft lean and a square club face there. So that's going to be the move. Again, to get to the move course, this is a course on the website. Click the house icon, scroll down, and you'll be able to see the move section there and start working through those. So those are the two biggest ones I see. There could be other things that are going on. I mean, there's a million different things that could be going on, but those are really the two big ones. Those are going to cover 80-90% of people. But you got to look at your swing on camera and see what's going on there. If you'd like help with that, we do offer an unlimited swing review program. I believe I do have a spot or two available right now. If you'd like me to help you, figure out exactly what the piece is that you're struggling with, that's causing you to have that lead wrist breakdown, I'd be happy to help you. I'd love to work with you. If you go to Get a Review at the top of the page there, you can see what's all about in our unlimited swing review program. I believe Robin is also on there, and I'm not sure if he has spots available right now. But if you go on there and the instructor you want to work with, you don't have spots available, just join that waiting list, and that way, when spots do become available, we'll send out an email to you so that you can know when spots available, and you can be able to sign up. So, and if you have any questions about our unlimited swing review program, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be happy to answer any questions about that as well. But it's really one of the fastest ways to improve, because I know that it's hard to look at your swing and you see all these things that you don't really like, or things that are going on, and you don't really know what to work on, what's going to help you the most. If you work with an instructor, they're going to be able to pinpoint that. We look at hundreds of swings. I give thousands of swing reviews, and I know exactly what to look for and what to look at to get you right on your way. So that's what I would recommend for sure. And check it out if you haven't yet before. So William P says, I hit my 3-wood fairly consistent off a tee, but struggle off the fairway. So just in general, it's going to be easier to hit a ball off of a tee because there's more margin for error there. Basically, you can hit down on it, you can hit up on it. So if a ball is sitting up on a tee, let me grab a ball here. So I have a hybrid here. It's not your 3-wood, but if the ball is sitting up on a tee, so let's say that this is up on a tee. Well, if it's up on a tee, then I can hit up on it and hit a good shot. I can hit down on it and hit a good shot. I come in level with it and hit a good shot. Well, if the ball is on the turf, well, now I can't hit up on it unless the ball is sitting up on the grass like it's on a tee. But if it's on, flat turf on the fairway, which is most likely what it sounds like what you're into, I can't hit up on it. If I hit up on it, what's going to happen is either I'm going to hit the ground, or if I miss the ground and I'm hitting up on it, I'm going to hit the top of the ball. So for hitting the ball off of the ground, off of the turf, what I'd recommend doing, it sounds like you're probably either topping or chunking it. That's usually the case when people have trouble hitting fairway woods off the turf. A big mistake that I see with fairway woods off the turf is people play it way too far forward in their stance. So if you look at basically they play it in their stance like they're hitting it off of the tee and like they're trying to hit up on the ball. So what I'd recommend for a wood off the turf is maybe just if you look straight down from the lead ear, kind of in that area, maybe a ball forward of that, and that's going to be kind of in this area right here. Too many people I see are playing it like they would a driver, like way up, kind of off the lead shoulder here, inside the lead foot. And if you have it there, it's going to be harder to get that downward angle of attack on the golf ball. You're going to tend to want to hit up on the ball because the club's going to be on its way up as it gets to the golf ball. So what I'd recommend is moving that ball back a little bit to make it easier to get that downward angle attack and ball first contact. So that's what I'd be recommending there as well. And also making sure that you get a good weight shift. Usually when I see people, when they're hitting that 3-wood, they're trying to get it up in the air because, usually it doesn't have a lot of loft on it. So, they're trying to get the ball up in the air. So they kind of hang back and try to kind of hit up on it. And that's just not going to work out when you're hitting it off the turf. You've got to hit down on the ball a little bit. moving it out of the screen there. You got to hit down on the ball a little bit. You have to get your weight moving forward. So make sure that you're getting a good weight shift to your lead side. So if you want to search for some good videos on weight shift, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of the website, you can see there's a search box there. Click in there, and you can search weight shift. And there's also some great videos just in general about hitting woods and stuff off of the turf. You know, if you're topping, I imagine you're topping it or chunking it. That's usually the case. Didn't get any more information on unless you posted some stuff later. But that's usually what's going on there. So move the ball back a little bit in your stance. Make sure you're getting to your lead side, and that should help out with your 3-wood off the turf for sure. All right, so Todd H says, I've been watching the latest video on shifting to the right side on my backswing for more power. I'm conscious to not sway, but find I hit it better by keeping left more planted. What am I doing wrong? Well, it sounds like you're not getting to your lead side. So you want to load up, right? We want to be loading up in our backswing and then having that shift to the lead side. So you need to make sure that you're loading up here, but then the downswing, you're getting to your lead side. You're probably finding it easier to keep that lead foot planted and stay on your lead side because that way you're already there. But it's not going to be a very powerful way to hit the golf ball. You know, you think about every powerful movement, right? You think about a baseball pitcher. You know, if a baseball pitcher, you know, they're on the rubber and they're loading up on their lead side and they're firing off that rubber toward the plate. You look at, a quarterback throwing a Hail Mary, right? They're right here. They're loading up on their back foot, and then they're pushing off and throwing it as far as they can. Every powerful athletic movement has a load up and a momentum transfer to the lead side. It's no different in the golf swing. So if you are staying on your lead side throughout the swing, then it's just not going to be as powerful of a movement as it would be if you were completely loading up and then getting to your lead side. So what I would recommend is working on getting that load up and then getting that momentum shift to your lead side. The best drill for that is the step drill. It sounds like you were kind of on that. I believe it's the sumo step. It sounds like you're kind of in the 20-minute distance fix section. But there's great step drills throughout the website that you can do. But basically what it comes down to is just to boil down the drill that you're doing. And like I said, this is going to be the sumo step drill for the most part from the new 20-minute distance fix course. And if you haven't been to that course, if you're looking for distance, you got to look through that course. We're seeing amazing results from people working through that course. And I think a lot of people will learn a lot that they haven't known through that. And that's also another great course to go through that with an instructor to make sure that you're nailing everything. Sign up for your limited swing reviews while you're going through the course. And I think you'll see a lot better results, making sure that you're getting in the right positions. But in this drill, with this step drill, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be setting up with your feet. You're getting in your golf posture here. So here I am. I'm in my golf posture. Now I'm going to set up with my feet together. And as soon as I start this club going back, I'm going to start stepping forward. And I'm going to time that step, that my foot hitting the ground, with me reaching the top of the swing. And now my momentum's going forward. I'm starting to get pressure in my lead leg. And now my sequencing can happen correctly because now I can use my legs to rotate my body open. And now you're in that position that you like to be in, that you feel comfortable with hitting the ball. And that's going to allow you to come all the way through. And that's going to allow you to get that momentum shift and rotation. And it's going to allow you to build momentum with your lower body so that your upper body can really tighten up and really fire into the golf ball and hit it really hard. So I'll recommend working on that step drill to help you get in a good position there. All right, so James N says, good sound. All right, glad you can hear me. Robert S says, can lifting the lead heel also help keep you in your posture? It seems to help me keep good shoulder tilt, which keeps me in my posture. Does this make sense to you? To a certain extent, it can, because what happens is if we keep that foot down, so let me go ahead and angle this down again. What happens is if we keep this foot down, will tend to, a lot of times will slide if we don't have good, hip rotation, because this can, if you keep this heel on the ground in the backswing, that can kind of inhibit your hip rotation. See, if I lift it up off the ground, look at it from this angle, if I lift it up off the ground, it makes it easier to start turning my hips more. So getting that heel off the ground can help you to stay in your posture more, because what happens if I keep that on the ground and I'm trying to rotate my hips, what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of go like this, and now my posture is very, very terrible. Or I'm going to kind of stand up to try to get it higher. So yes, absolutely, it can definitely help. The key to lifting the lead heel is just to free up your hips so that you can move your hips enough, so that you can move your shoulders enough and get that maximum range of motion, because that's what allows you to get a lot of club head speed, is maxing out that range of motion. If you are only getting a shoulder turn that's in this area, you're really cutting down how much distance you can get. You got to get to at least 90 degrees, preferably more. If you look at tour players, average tour player is getting about 118 degrees with their shoulder turn. So, about 50 degrees comes from the hips. About 50 degrees is coming from the thoracic spine, your upper spine. That's basically the separation of your hips and your rib cage. And then another 20 degrees or something like that is coming from the protraction and retraction of the shoulders. So putting all those together, you're looking at a tour player is getting it to about 118 degrees. So if you're really restricting the hips, so let's say you're only rotating the hips 20, 25 degrees, and let's say you have a great, you have a tour caliber separation of your rib cage, your thorax and your hips, and you're 50 degrees, and that all you can get is a max of maybe 90 degrees. You got to let those hips go. That's really the biggest key that I see with people, is they really try to restrict the hips. Now, there's been some teaching a long time ago, which I never really quite understood, is that, trying to restrict your hips to try to get that X factor. Well, you're still getting that, the X factor is the separation of your hips and the thorax, like I was saying. So you're still getting that, even if you're turning your hips 45, 50 degrees. You can go as much as 60 degrees if you're really struggling with getting that big shoulder turn. Maybe you have a limitation in your upper spine, your thoracic spine, that doesn't allow you to get that, that 50 degrees separation there. So you just got to get it from anywhere that you can and get that maximum amount of total shoulder turns, so that you can really create a lot of space. So the higher you get your hands here and the longer you get your hands, the more time and space that you have to accelerate the club. And that's going to allow you to create more club head speed at impact. So highly recommend, if you're struggling with distance, highly recommend going through that course and improving your distance for sure. And doing it with unlimited swing reviews is also a really, really good way to do it. All right. So Ronald K says, I'm 72 and quit managing golf course and playing because of left knee issues. I've had 6 surgeries, starting with replacement. After each surgery, I did practice, hoping number 6 is my last and can start playing. What are your thoughts about starting to practice and playing with single length irons? So I've never hit single length irons. I can understand the concept of it. It's really to each their own for the most part. Obviously, there's some players out there that are playing really good golf with single length irons, most notably, Bryson DeChambeau. But basically, your single length irons, the theory behind it is that you're making the same swing every single time, so that it's with the same length club. So every club kind of feels the same. But I think the reality is that when you make all the clubs the same length, your lower irons, they don't go high enough, and you can't get enough club head speed on. Now, they say that they weight them in a certain way to make that possible. But then if you do that, if you're changing the weight of all the clubs, well, then it's not really the same swing every time. Every club's going to feel different. So it kind of defeats the purpose or the concept of the clubs, in my opinion. So honestly, like I said, I've never hit single length clubs. I'd love to hit some sometime, but I've never hit any before. But to me, the theory is that if you have all the clubs the same length, you can be more consistent. And But the problem is that you're changing the weight of every single club, so they're all different anyway. So to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. For me, it makes more sense to keep the swing weights mostly the same and have the clubs, your irons and wedges kind of feel all the same, but be different lengths. That's what I would recommend. That's kind of what a standard set would do for you. But I would say, to each their own. If you find that you play better golf with single length irons, then more power to you. Absolutely. I will say that if you, even those guys that are playing single length clubs, their woods in their longer clubs, they're not the same length as their 7-iron. Bryson is not playing a 7-iron that's or a driver that's the same length of his 7-iron. He's got a driver that's longer, because if you don't do that, then you're going to end up you're going to be really cutting down on your distance and how much you can get with your driver. So it doesn't matter how much weight you add to that driver. You're just not going to be able to swing it and be able to get as much enough clubhead speed to really be able to compete out there, with people that are playing normal drivers. So like I said, the theory of it, I kind of like the sound of it, but what you have to do to make the ball flights and to get your gapping, what you have to do to make that happen, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the entire thing. And you just end up having to change everything anyway. So in my opinion, it's better to go with, a standard kind of set, incremental length irons. There's a reason why 99% of tour players use those. It's just because it makes more sense and it's probably easier. And also because that's what everybody grew up with and nobody wants to change. But yeah, I mean, I would love to try out some single length irons. I'm just basing this off of opinion and the information that I know, but it's to each their own on that. If you play better with single length irons, then by all means, go for it. So Mike L says, I'm a lefty swinging righty. Have you had any questions or concerns from anyone like me that you remember, like what must be guard against the most, etc.? So the swing issues are the same. What I always tell people, if you're a lefty and you're swinging right-handed, or if you're a righty and you're swinging left-handed, keep in mind that there's a lot of tour players that are like that as well. Phil Mickelson, he's right-handed, he swings left-handed. Jordan Spieth, he's left-handed, he swings right-handed. So obviously, really great players that are good. They could probably play with both. Probably with both clubs, both sides pretty well. I don't know that for a fact, but I imagine, if you're swinging one way and your dominant hand's the other way, you could probably swing both ways. But as far as the concerns and things, you're dealing with the same things. It's nothing really changes. It's just you're swinging from one side to the other. Now, what I will say is that, usually we're stronger with our dominant side, right? So if you're a lefty, you may be able to get more clubhead speed if you swung with your dominant side. Now, if that's not the case, then you're swinging from the right side for sure. And you may be able to be more accurate from the other side as well. So it's just, I say swing from whatever side gives you the most power and the best combination of power and accuracy and consistency. And that's what you should stick with. But the swing issues and things like that, they're all the same. You're going to have the same kind of issues whether you're swinging from either side. It doesn't make any difference. So Mike L says, thank you. Glad I could help. So Oliver R says, when should I cock my wrists in my backswing? And it censored your cock my wrists. The sensor on this thing is very sensitive, so be careful with that. I think it censors balls too. But anyway, Oliver, so basically that's, again, kind of a to each their own kind of thing. So there's benefits to cocking the wrists later, I think. So in my opinion, I think it's better to try to basically keep your wrists from setting as late as possible. And the reason for that is that it gets your arms and your shoulders in the club more involved in the swing earlier. So if you are kind of cocking the wrists early, so let's say we're going to the extreme here, and we're just going to start the swing by cocking the wrists. Well, if we do that, look how far the club has gone, and my shoulders haven't hardly moved at all. Whereas if I get the club to right here and I don't cock my wrist, look how much my shoulders have turned. My shoulders have turned probably 45 degrees, 35 degrees to this point. So that's getting my shoulders more involved earlier. So that's why in the power turn section, we have a video on getting that nice wide takeaway, not setting those wrists so early. The reason is because that's getting your shoulders involved, and it's just going to make it easier to get that big full shoulder turn, because the shoulders are just going to keep rotating and rotating up to the top. So that's the benefit of that. The other benefit of that is that when you set the wrists later, what happens is there's more momentum going in this direction in the start of the downswing. So what does that help? That helps you get lag. So when you do that, you got a lot of momentum moving in this direction, and that helps you generate lag. So if you see, if I do that, that's helping me get some lag there in the downswing. So that's really the benefit of it. But that doesn't mean that you can't set the wrists early and do both of those things really well. So if you look at your swing, you're comfortable with setting those wrists early, and you're getting a big shoulder turn and plenty of lag in the downswing, then I wouldn't worry about changing it at all. But if you're someone who is having trouble getting that big shoulder turn and you're casting the club, you may want to look at getting a little wider takeaway, setting those wrists a little bit later to do that. The disadvantage of setting the wrists later, if you do it really, really late and you get a lot of momentum moving in this direction to start the swing, it'll feel like you don't have a lot of control of the club. So it's all about finding that happy medium. So as far as to answer your question exactly when you should start setting the wrist, typically I like about waist level is when you start to slowly bring the club to where you're setting the wrist. So if you're kind of like in this position, waist level, I haven't really set the wrists at all. I haven't moved them. And then you slowly start to set the wrist to where you're about lead arm parallel to the ground. The downswing, you're probably got about a 90-degree angle here. And then you bring it up to here. That's usually a pretty good place to be, but I wouldn't worry about trying to get those positions exactly. What I'd recommend doing is do what is comfortable for you. Look at your swing on camera. Are you setting those wrists too soon? And in that case, are you not getting enough of a shoulder turn, and are you casting the club? If that's the case, then work on trying to just set it a little bit early, a little bit later, and maybe that's starting to set it here, and it makes a big difference for you. Maybe it's waiting to set it until you're way above your waist, and that helps you get the right position. Everyone's built a little bit differently, so you do what works best for you. But those are basically the pros and cons of each way. You just got to find that happy medium that puts you in the right place in your swing. But the big keys there are the shoulder turn and being able to generate lag in the downswing. All right, so let me get a drink here real quick. So Charles S. says, watch the right wrist video, keeping it flexed back through the swing, help keep the face slightly open to the swing path when hitting the power fade. Thanks. All right, so hold on, let me read that again. Watching the right wrist video, keeping it flexed back through the swing, help keep the club face slightly open to the swing path when hitting the power fade. So basically the best way to hit a power fade, a true power fade, it's a really hard shot to hit because you have to de-loft the face even more. So what's happening is that when you're trying to fade the ball, the face has to be open to your club path. So when you open the face to the club path, what happens is you usually add loft a little bit. So if you don't get any more forward shaft length, so let's say this is the forward shaft length that you have, and you open the face, well, what happens is it adds loft to the face. So what do we have to do to combat that, to take that loft off there, is you have to de-loft it even more. So that's why it's a harder shot to hit, because most people just struggle in general with de-lofting the face. So keeping that lead wrist, or that trail wrist, he's talking about his right wrist, I assume he's right-handed, keeping that more flexed back in the downswing, that's going to help you to get in this kind of position where you have more forward shaft length. It's going to help you to get that club face squaring up. And if you get your path, if you just get your face open to that path with more forward shaft length, that's going to allow you to hit that power fade. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking there, Charles. But yeah, having that right wrist bent back as you're coming through, that's going to allow you to have that face open to the path. It's going to allow you to get more forward shaft length, which is going to make it easier to hit that power fade, which is one of the toughest shots to truly hit in golf. All right, so James M says, Q, I am a swing hard and not getting the distance I feel like I don't have. It feels like I don't have. Q, I am swing hard and not getting the distance it feels like I don't have. So folks, he posted again here. So he says, Q, I am swing hard and not getting the distance it feels like I am not keeping the lag. What can I do? So first of all, folks, whenever you post a question, please kind of proofread it before you post it. Because if I have a hard time understanding exactly what your question is, it's going to be hard for me to give you the answer that you're looking for. So make sure to just kind of give it a quick proofread before you post it. And, that way it's, exactly what we're looking for, and you get the answer you're looking for as well. So when you say he feels like I'm not keeping the lag, that tells me something right there. That tells me that James doesn't really know if he's keeping the lag, which means he's not filming his swing. People always ask me, hey, what's the best training aid out there that you can get? You know what one of the best training aids is? A camera. A camera is one of the best training aids. It's tried and true. It doesn't lie to you. It tells you exactly what's going on. The best training aids out there are the ones that tell you after the fact what happened. So if you think that you're losing your lag, you haven't really been looking at your swing. So you got to look at your swing on camera. Get that video camera out. I know it can be kind of a pain in the neck, but get that video camera out. Get yourself a little tripod or a Selfie Golf stick with the Selfie Golf phone grabber thing. Get yourself a tripod with a phone mount. You can find them on Amazon, or just ask a buddy to hold it for you. While you take a swing. Most people at the range are more than happy to help you with that. So I recommend looking at your film or looking at your swing on camera. That's how you got to go through the Top-Speed Golf system as well to make sure that you're going through the pieces. So if you're losing your lag, then you just need to work on the Top-Speed Golf lag drills. So you can find that in the Top-Speed Golf system, Top-Speed lag course, or we also have a lag vault that has tons of videos on lag. So I'd be working through several of those drills. Now, if you start working on a drill and you find this one, I'm not getting the right feeling for it, I don't like this one, move on to another one. We have hundreds of drills on lag. Not every drill is going to be perfect for everybody. Find the right fit for you that gives you the right feeling and gets you to be in the right position. If there was one lag drill that worked for everyone, then there would just be one lag drill on the website, and that's all we would give everybody. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Some people do a little bit better with other drills than others. And fortunately, we have a ton of videos on them on the website. So if something's just not working for you, you're not getting the right feeling of it, move on to another one. Try a different drill to help you get the right mindset and feeling. I will tell you, I had a swing review student that we probably worked on 3 or 4 different lag drills. And he was, it was frustrating. It's going to be frustrating if it's not really working for you. But once you finally get it to click, it's going to make a big difference for you. This student, he went from basically in the downswing from this position where he had about a 94-degree angle between his lead arm and the shaft at about this point in the swing. He went from there to having a 47-degree angle. So it was this kind of difference there. And he said he was just bombing his drives. He went from hitting it like 230, 240 to hitting it, 280. Even some, he said he got to 300 once it, rolled out completely. So it's all about getting that to feel, getting that right feeling of it. So work on lag drills to help you get the right, to help you get the right feeling for it, and just try several of them, and eventually it will click for you if you keep on working at it. But you got to look at your swing on camera to see if that's what's going on. The key here is that you just want to make sure that this angle at the top, it's getting a little bit smaller, or at least staying the same to this point in the swing. If it's getting bigger before this point in the swing, that's an issue. That's casting. You're going to be releasing the club early, burning up all your energy back here. So make sure that you are generating lag. You're getting this sharp angle here as you're coming in. Now, everybody's built a little bit differently. There's a reason why, some players have crazy, it looks like it's hitting their shoulders. You look at Ben Hogan, it looks like the club's about to hit his shoulder. Look at Sergio, Phil Mickelson, all these guys. Looks like that club is about to hit their shoulder in the backswing. But if you look at someone like Justin Rose and Adam Scott, they're just in this position right here. So everybody's built a little bit differently, but every tour player is getting some amount of lag. They're not casting the club. They're not releasing from the top. So as long as you're getting some amount of lag here, you're getting down to this position in the swing, and this angle is not getting bigger to this position here. As long as you're doing that, then you're in good shape. So you got to look at your swing on camera, see what's going on there, film from face on, slow it down. When you're go frame by frame from the top. See what this angle is at the top and see if you are getting this angle to be smaller or at least the same in the downswing, in the beginning of the downswing. And that's going to lead to much better results. If you are, sure, you could try to improve it, but, odds are you're in pretty good shape there if you're at least keeping that angle to that point in the swing. All right. So Dave S. says, I have heard the talk about squat to start the downswing for more power, but the website doesn't show much on this. So it's not necessarily a squat, I would say. It's very, very subtle. It's not like you're going up to the top and then you're doing this and coming down and through. It's very, very subtle. It's more of you're just getting a little bit lower. You're getting into your lead side and turning all the way through. So this happens fairly naturally if you're sequencing correctly, if you're getting to your lead side and then turning all the way through. Because what happens is that if you don't get any bend in your legs, so let's say I'm just going to keep my legs dead straight here, and I'm just going to go up to the top, and then I'm going to go forward. What happens if I have my legs dead straight? I just kind of go like that, and I swing the club through. So in order to get the body rotating, you're going to have to get some bend, some flex in those knees, and get in a more athletic position here. So naturally, you're going to be doing some squatting, and in order to rotate the body open, you got to have some flex in that leg so that you can straighten it out and rotate the body open as you're coming through. If it's already straight, you don't have much rotational power. You've got to push into the ground to get that body to rotate. So the step drill I mentioned earlier is going to be a really great one for that in the new 20-minute distance fix course. If you go to that, you'll see that we have a sumo drill, I believe it's called, in there. That's going to have that step in there that's really going to help you to get what you're looking for there. So I'd be working on that a little bit. And that's going to help you get that kind of natural squat motion as you're coming into impact. So Oliver R. says, thanks for the tips. Glad I could help. Absolutely. Charles S. says, thanks. That's exactly what I was asking. Great. Glad I could help. Roy F. Let me get a drink here real quick. So Roy F. says, on course corrections, working on shaft lean and turning handles square face. Do you have any keys to indicate if my flip is back or I'm turning handle too much? When the flip returns, I tend to add loft and elevation. This weekend trajectory was better, but shots started left of target with draw spin. So basically, to know a big key is to know if you're de-lofting it or not, is if you're hitting it higher or lower. So if you're seeing the ball start to launch lower and actually go further as well, that means that you are de-lofting it. But you can also be de-lofting it and hitting it way to the left and still be flipping, because what happens is that when you de-loft it, okay, so now I'm coming in, I'm de-lofting it, and I flip the club. So let me angle this down so you can kind of see. So if I get this club, to de-loft. So you can see here from this angle, I'm de-lofting it. I'm turning that handle down. So when I get to where I'm de-lofting, but if I still flip, let's scoot back so you can see the face. If I still, let me choke up here so you can really see the club. If I flip here, so I'm coming in, I'm flipping, well, look at that face. It's dead shut. Now, this is an exaggeration, but if I turn that handle down and flip the club, what happens is that face is shut. So we got to get that handle more forward so that I have a square club face and forward shaft lean there. So if your ball is starting left, that just means that you're flipping the club, but you're turning that handle down. So you're getting part of it, which is going to de-loft the face. You can still flip and de-loft the face by closing it, because that's what closing the face does. It de-lofts it. So you're just closing the face, but not not getting forward shaft lean, not having the hands more forward, which is making that ball go left. So you're de-lofting and you're flipping the club, which makes the ball go left. So you got to get to where you're swinging. Feel like you're swinging more into out probably. And it's hard to say without seeing your swing like right then in the moment. But basically, if you're kind of swinging over the top or coming down steep, even if you're turning this handle down, you're going to have to flip the club to get to the golf ball, because what happens is that if you come down steep and you continue steep, you're just going to go right into the ground, straight into the ground. So what do you have to do if you're coming down steep? Even if you're turning this handle down, you've got to do this. You got to stand up, and then you end up flipping with a de-lofted face, or with a closed club face, which de-lofts it. So you got to get to where, make sure you're swinging into out, and you're getting this club to release out in front there as you're coming into impact. One thing I will mention is that, when you're out on the course, just go out there and swing with the swing that you're comfortable with. Try to keep your practice tee and the first tee separate. Just because you're out there, you're working on de-lofting the face and, hitting good, hitting solid, more compressed golf shots on the practice tee. That doesn't mean you're not real comfortable with it yet. That doesn't mean you're ready to go out on the course and really start implementing that. So just go out there on the course and use the swing that you're comfortable with, that you know how to hit, get good, as good an impact as you can with, and subconsciously, whatever you're working on in your practice tee should translate to when you're out on the course. But I wouldn't be trying to do everything in your power to de-loft the face, because as you mentioned, it sounded like you were trying to do that and you were just kind of hitting a lot of pull hooks or things like that. So you want to make sure that you're, making good contact and getting the ball to go where you want it to go. And then whatever you're working on the practice tee is just slowly going to translate. So it takes time. You're going to work on it. If you work on it quite a bit, you keep on improving it, you're going to get, the more you work on it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. And the more subconsciously it's going to make its way out onto the course. I'm working on a lot of the same things myself right now. I'm working on getting a little bit more forward shaft lean. I used to play in Indiana a lot, where especially the courses I played there, the ball kind of sat up on the tee, or sat up on the grass like it was on a tee. So basically I could get away with kind of flipping the club and hitting great golf shots, albeit I would hit it pretty high and with a lot of spin. But I didn't have a ton of compression on, but I was still able to hit really good golf shots because the conditions allowed me to do that. It didn't force me to get forward shaft lean. But now I've been in Florida for a little over a year now, and you've got to get forward shaft lean here because the ball doesn't sit up on the grass. Everything's kind of, the fairways are very tightly mown. Usually the ball doesn't sit up perfectly on the grass. It's kind of sitting down. So if I were to take that same swing, I'm just going to hit everything thin and super spinny, and it's just not going to go very far. So here you've got to get forward shaft lean so that you can hit down and through the ball and get that strike higher on the face so that you can make solid contact. So I've been working on basically the same thing you are. And I tell you what, I just go to the range and I just exaggerate getting that strike higher on the face, forward shaft lean. I exaggerate everything as much as I can. I don't hit very good golf shots usually on the range. I'll hit a few of them in there, but that doesn't mean I go to the course and try to hit them the exact same way, because I'm just not real comfortable with it. But I will tell you that over, the past several months, working on this, off and on, I'm hitting my irons a lot further, just because subconsciously it's making its way into my swing because I've been working on it over the last few months, and I'm becoming more comfortable with it. So that's just what you got to do. But basically, to know what's going on the course, look at your ball flight, what's going on. If it's obviously if the trajectory is lower and you're hitting it further, you are definitely de-lofting it and getting more compression on the shots. If it's still skyballing and the things like that, you're not getting that forward shaft lean, and that's okay. When you're out on the course, just focus on making solid contact, having getting the ball to start off in the direction you want it to, getting the ball to curve in the direction you want it to. If you're looking to hit a little draw or a fade, getting that ball first contact, not coming in and hitting it fat or things like that. So just keep in mind that when you're flipping the club, you're going to be more susceptible to thin shots and things like that. It doesn't mean you can't hit good golf shots. It just means it's just going to be a little bit tougher for you. So the more you work on the technique and get that working a little bit better, the more comfortable you're going to get with out on the course. But yeah, look at your ball flight, see what's going on with your ball flight, and try to adjust what you're doing to give yourself the right results on the course. So hopefully that helps. But keep in mind that you're just not going to go straight from what you're doing on the range, every other swing that's good, to hitting every shot really good on the golf course. It just doesn't work that way. It takes time to get comfortable with it. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. So Bill A says, I have difficulty starting the transition from the top and getting my forward knee to switch from pointing away from the target to towards the target. What can I do? So like I've mentioned several times in this office hours, that step drill, that's going to be the one. It just sounds like you're hanging back. You're either not loading up properly and then getting that momentum shift to your lead side, or you're just kind of hanging back and not getting that momentum shift to your lead side. So work on that step drill, getting that feeling of getting that little bit of a momentum transfer. Because what happens is there's going to be a little bit of a lateral shift. So to start the downswing here, so as you're going up the top, you're actually getting a little bit of a lateral shift. So your momentum's moving forward, but you're loading up still here. So if you watch a lot of swings, basically it's going to kind of look like this as they're going up to the top. And then now we've got that pressure on that lead leg, and then we can turn that foot out and get to where we're pushing down and out into the ground. One thing that may help with that is open this foot up, because that gets you in the right angle here to get to where you're pushing down and out. If you have this foot dead square, it can do a couple things, make a couple things more difficult. One, it may make it more difficult to hit through the ball. If you have a limitation in the internal rotation of your lead hip here, your leg, it's going to be hard to get through the ball and get your hips more open at impact. So go ahead and open that up to alleviate that so you can turn a lot more. The other thing is, like I said, it's going to put your leg, your femur, your thigh here, in that position to where it's pointing back and in toward your body. So that's going to help you to rotate open. Another good feeling to have is to feel like you're on a clock, okay? So feel like you're standing on a clock and dead forward here. This is 12 o'clock on the clock. So this would be 1 o'clock over here, and this would be 11 o'clock. That would be 10. So if you're thinking in a direction where you're pushing down into the ground and then out away from you with this lead leg, you want to feel like you're pushing down and out toward 10:30. And naturally, your leg will kind of get into that position and push you down and out away from you. So there's a great video on the website, Kick the Clutch. I'd recommend checking out that. Just search clutch in the search bar there at the top of the page, upper right-hand corner. Search clutch, and you'll see, I think it says Kick the Clutch for better hips in the downswing or something like that. But in that video, you're talking about how you're coming into impact and you're kicking the clutch forward. That's the feeling that you want to have. You want to feel like you're trying to break something underneath your lead foot as you're coming through, and that's going to really allow you to put as much ground pressure as you can into the ground to help you rotate. But yeah, try rotating that foot out a little bit, and that may help as well. All right, so Timothy R says, what is the best way to stay in posture and through iron shots? My major problem is coming out of irons shots and hitting them weak off the toe. So I'll tell you, most likely what's happening is you're coming down steep in the downswing. So when you do that, so if you look in the downswing and you see this shaft at this point in the swing is pretty vertical, you want it to be pointing probably a little bit outside of the golf ball to get that club shallowing out correctly. So if you're coming down steep, this club is pointed inside the golf ball. What happens is that we've got to stand up to get this club to be more back on track and on plane and to swing on plane. Because otherwise, if we come down this way, you're going to swing over the top. Or if you can kind of continue in the same direction, you're just going to throw this club into the ground behind the golf ball. So what we got to do is we got to get the club back on plane. So what do? We stand up. And when we stand up, we come up, right? We're coming out of our posture. And we're also moving away from the golf ball. So when you move away from the golf ball, you're going to be more susceptible to toe strikes there. So staying in your posture is going to come from most likely getting this club to shallow out. That's going to be the move section. Or you can also search. There's many videos on the website for shallowing out the club. Just search shallow in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll find tons of videos for shallowing out the club. But working through the move course is what you're going to want to do. Click the house icon, top of the page, scroll down through the courses, click the move, and get started on that. That's going to get you to where you are shallowing out the club and squaring out that face earlier so that you can stay in your posture and turn through impact and get forward shaft lane and compression on the ball. So that's really the first thing. But if you just see that you are shallowing out the club, because this happens definitely more rare. This is a fairly rare occasion that you see this, but every now and then you'll see somebody that's shallowing out the club and they just stand up out of it. Well, that's usually a case of people who are just afraid of kind of hitting the ground. So don't be afraid of taking a divot, hitting the ground in front of the golf ball, because that's what's going to help you to get some really good compression on the golf ball. So you can't be really afraid to do that. It's going to be a different sensation if you're used to kind of picking the club or picking the ball off the turf. But if you get to where you're getting that divot in front of the golf ball hitting the ground, you may need to feel like you're kind of chopping down into it to get that right sensation. So there's a good drill that you can do. Well, first I'll go to our stop early extension section and work through those courses. Again, this is a course on the website. It's basically all about just staying in your posture. So I'd take a look at that one, but I would go to the move first, make sure that you're shallowing out the club, then go to that stop early extension section and work through those drills if the move, if you are actually shallowing out the club. So Richard C says, I'm unable to maintain my posture on the backswing, but I have difficulty staying in a posture. So he says I'm able to maintain my posture on the backswing, but I have difficulty staying in my posture on the downswing. I tend to stand up before getting to the golf ball. So Richard, this is basically the same exact answer for you as it is for Timothy. You're going to want to look at the move, make sure that you're shallowing out the club. If you are shallowing out the club, work through that early extension section of the course on our website. If you go to the house icon, scroll down, you will see all the courses. Stop early extension is the one you're going to want to go through. All right, so Gerald F says, I see that Clay and most professionals keep their head down through release until 3 o'clock position. When I do this, my results are much better, but I have a difficult time doing it consistently. Do you have any suggestions? I would just, if you're getting good results with it, it's just something you're going to need to practice some more until you get more comfortable with it. Once you get more comfortable with it, it's going to be, it's going to become second nature to you. So there's basically, you can't ever basically, get rid of a habit. So let's say your habit is just kind of, you're pulling up out of it before you're getting to the golf ball. You can't ever get rid of a habit. You can only develop new habits to overcome the old ones. So basically you have to create a habit of staying in your posture all the way through. And it just takes time to do that, time and repetition. So you've probably seen on the website, we recommend this many repetitions or 1,000 repetitions or 3,000 reps. That's because that's what it takes to get comfortable with the movement. So you think about, I like to equate it to learning how to type, right? So most of us, especially if you're on here asking questions and things like that, we're learning how to type. So, we had learned how to type at one point in our life. So when we first started learning how to type, we had to look at every letter on the keyboard, and we were pointing and pecking and trying to find every single one. And then once we kind of memorized where the letters were, we were getting faster, but we were still pointing and pecking. And then we figured out, okay, we got to put our fingers on the keyboard this way, and then every finger, had an assignment for a letter, and you were still kind of having to kind of look down on it. But think about just the amount of repetition it took to get to that point where you were typing like that. And then eventually you got to where you were getting faster with it. And eventually you got to where you didn't even have to look at the letters. and you were just hitting everything. You knew exactly where everything was. And then you got to where you weren't even thinking on an individual letter basis. You were thinking in terms of complete words. Like you just type a word and you probably don't remember what your pinky did or what your thumb did or what your, what your ring finger did, your left ring finger, or what those individual fingers did when you type that word. You just did it because you created those pathways in your brain to do that. It became second nature. And eventually you're kind of thinking in full sentences, right? Getting that full sentence. You're not remembering what every single finger is doing. You're just typing it out because you're thinking. You've created that system in your brain. The same thing goes when you are trying to learn anything new that isn't completely natural to you. So you have to create those pathways in the brain to be able to make that happen. So that comes with repetition and basically creating that habit that you need to make it happen. So it's just going to take. My biggest suggestion, there's no I wish there was like a magic tip I could give you that would you would automatically do it every single time. But what it boils down to here is, I'm not going to lie to you, you're just going to have to do more repetition to get more comfortable with it. And the more comfortable you get with it, the more second nature it's going to become. And doing anything else is just going to become kind of a weird feeling. It's actually going to become very weird. It's going to become a very weird feeling to do this in the swing. So you just got to get more repetition with it and really, really exaggerating it. And overdoing it as much as you possibly can throughout the process. That actually speeds up the process of the learning and helps you get it a little bit more. So that's why I recommend Gerald. I know it may not be the answer that you were looking for or hoping for, but unfortunately, that's just the reality, of the situation for sure. So James M says, "Thanks, Q. Sorry, I hit the wrong key on the PC. No worries. Well, glad we got your question answered. So Mark T, we got about 3 minutes left. This is the last question here on here. So we'll probably finish up right after this. So Mark T says, I have moved from consistently slicing to consistently pulling left with a divot pointing left. What should I be considering fixing in this problem? So important thing to understand is that pulling and slicing are really a product of the same issue. You mentioned that your divot is pointing to the left. Well, the issue is that your swing is too much out to in. You're kind of coming over the top. So coming over the top is your club path is kind of moving in this direction. So the only difference between a slice and the pull is really just the face, the club face. So with a pull, your club path is moving to the left, but your club face is closed. It's basically moving in the same direction as your club path. So the face and the path are in the same direction. There's not going to be a lot of curvature on the shot. Now, with a slice, you're coming in, your path is moving to the left, but your face is open to that path. So the ball starts to slice. It cuts across the ball. So what you need to do to fix both of those issues, the pulling and the slicing, is to get your club path to be working more from the inside. And in order to do that, you're going to want to go to our Never Slice Again course, work through the drills there. All of the drills in that Never Slice Again course are to get you from doing this to this, getting this club to work more from the inside. The best way to fix any issue in the golf swing is to exaggerate the opposite. Try to do the complete opposite. So what would be the opposite of hitting a slice and a pull? We'll be trying to hit, pushes, blocks out to the right, and hooks that start to the right and curve to the left if you're a right-handed golfer. So that's what I would recommend, is working on trying to go out there and try to hit some extreme hooks. Do everything you can to get that ball to hook. And once you get that ball to hook and you're getting comfortable with that, then just start to ease off of that feeling to straighten it out. So that would be my biggest recommendation. And that's going to the Never Slice Again course on the website to work through those drills. If you click on the house icon at the top of the screen, that's going to take you to the home page. If you scroll down, you'll see all the courses on the website. Click on that Never Slice Again course and start working on getting that club path to work more from the inside. So thanks a bunch, everybody, for joining me. I'll be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So hopefully you can join me then. And I will be there at that time to answer your questions. Have a good rest of your day. And I'll talk to you next time.